Folks, if Joe Biden is sworn in office on January or in January, expect chaos at our southern border with Mexico. Border officials are warning we could see a, quote, full-blown crisis overnight if that happens. 70,000 illegal immigrants were caught trying to cross the border in November alone. That's 4 times what we saw in April of this year. Hundreds of foreign nationals are making their way toward the border in anticipation of a Biden administration that is all but, well, put out the welcome mat for those who try to cross our border illegally. Remember those caravans from 2019? They're headed this way now again. And if the calamity of a Biden administration strikes our country, President Trump won't be there to order our Border Patrol to stop illegal entry. Let's talk with Tony Pham. He's the acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. Sir, thank you for taking the time, and Merry Christmas. We've been hearing about foreign nationals seeking to become illegal aliens massing at the southern border for a while now. What are you seeing there on the ground?
I've visited before, and what I'm seeing are issues that we're going to have to deal with on the interior enforcement side if and when the border wall construction begins to cease. There's going to be, like you said earlier, a mass influx of aliens trying to seek refuge in this country illegally, and we're going to have to address that issue on the interior enforcement side with ICE. And so those numbers are going to increase, and the biggest concern that I have from the operator side is the safety of the agents and the officers on the ground who are encountering these individuals in the communities that we may not know about, and whether they are asymptomatic carriers of COVID-19. There's a whole litany of issues and concerns that we're having right now on the operational side in engaging these individuals once they cross over.
Now, I don't want you to get political because I know your job is not political, but I've made an observation of people who are my political opponents that they don't care a whit about the China virus coming over that border from Mexico, which has been very lax in their, at least in the early going, about their enforcement of restrictions down that way. So they have a pretty big problem down in Mexico with an outbreak of the virus. Yet I am hearing nobody on my political opposition. I'm wondering if anybody has approached you about their concerns from that side of the political aisle to say, hey, are we okay? Are we stopping sufficiently undiagnosed, unvetted folks from coming across that border?
No, and I want to say this. Thank you for making that statement. You know, our operators on the ground, they're not political. This enforcement side of the football is not political. It's about enforcing the laws that Congress mandated for us to do many, many years ago. And so we don't have a political twist to it. We have an operational twist. And part of that concern that we have is, again, like you said, encountering the individuals that are not fully vetted, that may, with the vaccines that are beginning to be rolling out right now, as mass migration occurs, we're going to have individuals that, one, we don't know whether they're positive. We don't know whether they're carriers. We also don't know if they received the vaccine. And we're going to have to take super extra additional precautions to protect our agents on the interior as we begin to encounter these individuals. And reflexively, the concern becomes, what do they bring in and how do they introduce the virus back into these communities that they're lawfully in? And so, no, I'll answer your question. No one's reached out to me from the other side of the football to have a pragmatic discussion of the concern of COVID-19.
Yeah, understood. Now, the other side of the football, as you put it, the Democrat socialists, that's what I call them. They have, you guys aren't political, but they are very political. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, you may have heard of the socialist congresswoman from New York. She despises your organization. As a matter of fact, let me put something up on the screen right now. AOC, she's even selling hats that say, abolish ICE. She decries capitalism, but she's selling hats to partake in capitalism, to abolish your agency. Let me just ask you a question, Director. Is that fair to the men and women who serve ICE to protect the United States of somebody of her stature to come out and attack you the way she has?
Two things, if I may. How naive it is. You know, my background is my family escaped communist Vietnam in the fall of Saigon in 1975. You know, we were looking for a better life in a country that's built on freedom for the individuals, freedom for the citizens that are here. And what she's espousing, as you call her, a socialist Democrat, is not that. And it's manifestly naive of her to take advantage of the freedoms that she has in this country that were built upon the blood and the backs of the veterans who fought in countless wars to protect this opportunity in this nation. We don't see mass migration exiting the United States into other countries that are socialist. We don't see mass exit migration from the United States anywhere else across the globe. What we see are folks coming here for the opportunity to be free, for the opportunity to participate in a free market society, which she is doing and selling hats, probably to fund her own campaign. I get irritated when I hear folks talk about this organization that I love and is dear to me because of the men and women who put it on the line every day. When she gets to go home and sit and enjoy the comforts of Christmas or the holiday season, not having to actually enforce the laws that her and her counterparts and colleagues in Congress passed, our folks are on the ground day in and day out, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, enforcing the laws to keep our communities safe. She has a misunderstanding of all of the equities that this organization I lead and participate in, and wants to focus solely on one particular side, but completely forget that the work that we do in interdicting cross-border smuggling of illicit goods and human smuggling and human trafficking, we are protecting this nation from potential infusion of terrorists into the interior of the United States. That's a fact. That's our mandate after 9/11. That's what we were set up to do. We were also set up to also have a footprint internationally in an effort to be very proactive in that review and in that interdiction, to promote abolishing an organization that was built in the aftermath of one of the most horrific terrorist attacks of this nation that had ever seen and endured is completely naive and dangerous to be able to be in a position to promote that. And that's what I have to say about that.
Director, would you do us a favor here on the Chris Salcedo Show and Newsmax TV? Pass on to, as you say, the folks who are putting on the line every day to protect us. Yeah. Tell them they have at least our love and devotion and prayers for their safety as they do the job to protect all of us. And a Merry Christmas to you, Director. Appreciate you being here on the Chris Salcedo Show. Folks, I want you to truly understand what conditions are like on the ground at the border. I want you to listen to this. This is a distress call to the United States Embassy in Mexico on February 15th, 2011. Listen.
We got shot. We got shot. We are on the highway of Querétaro, Mexico. We've been shot and attacked on the highway. I am an ICE special agent.
Wow. That there was ICE Special Agent Victor Avila. Now, folks, I don't want to read too much into what we just heard, but I think it's fair of this analyst to say they were in trouble. They were in big, big trouble. You guys have heard me talk about this crisis at the southern border as being a congressionally caused crisis. Well, it has been. Those who allegedly represent you in the Congress, they have allowed our laws to go unenforced, resulting in millions upon millions of illegal aliens getting trespassed into these United States. The panic you just heard there in that soundbite was caused by members of your elected government in Washington, D.C., both Republicans and Democrats. I want to bring on ICE Special Agent Victor Avila, his partner during that incident that you folks just heard, Jaime Zapata. He paid with his life. First off, welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show, Mr. Avila. I appreciate you being here. Can you tell the folks what was going on during that recording?
That was an ambush by the Zetas cartel. And that's the call that I made to the U.S. Embassy right after about 90 rounds were shot at us on a Highway 57 on our way back to Mexico City while we were there on assignment. And like you said, Special Agent Jaime Zapata tragically lost his life. I miraculously survived, and I'm here by the grace of God. And so I know firsthand the challenges and the issues that we face with our border security and our relationship with Mexico.
Yeah. You know what happened during the Obama years on that border. You know the setup and how we had to deal with that during the Trump years, how he supported and published coming into the United States from the Northern Triangle countries, from all over the globe, come one, come all, with these policies of his. President Trump put a stop to it. Now you have Obama's vice president, slated anyway, according to a lot of folks out there, slated to take over. What is your biggest fear about Mr. Biden coming in to the Oval Office? What is your biggest fear, sir?
The biggest one is the influx of illegal activity, and not just in people and legal aliens coming into our country, but my biggest fear is the cartels and the imminent threat that we face here in our country of the cartels. And Americans need to know, they're really not aware of the impact that these criminal organizations have on our communities and the violence that we've seen. We've seen the spike in violence around our country, and a lot of that violence is attributed down to the drug trade, the human trafficking, the human smuggling that the drug cartels control out of Mexico. That's the number one thing. And also the dangers that we face in losing the protections of our sovereignty. You know, a lot of people have forgotten that we're a sovereign country with laws. The laws that are in the books now and were there under the Obama-Biden administration are the same. It's the interpretation of those laws that scare me. For example, the asylum laws, and how lax that'll be again. And as we're starting to see these caravans coming over to our border, because they know that under a Biden administration, they're not going to be enforced.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I'll never forget, in Arizona, there was a sign warning American citizens not to go into an area. It was American soil, telling Americans to stay out because your politicians and my politicians in Washington, D.C. had ceded American territory to those drug cartels. Absolute disgrace. Last question I have for you. Mr. Biden has already said he's going to stop construction of the border wall. What do you think the results will be?
They're going to be catastrophic in many ways, financially, but not just, they're taking away a tool that our men and women of Border Patrol have requested and have really embraced. They're the ones that need it. They're the ones that want that wall and that barrier. I wish I had it down there when I worked on the border on the Texas side, seeing countless SUVs full of drugs, humans carrying drugs, and human trafficking and human smuggling. I wish I would have had that barrier there. So that ending of that construction is only going to add more pressure to our men and women of Border Patrol to try to patrol those areas where we don't have a barrier.
Victor Avila, thank you for your service to the country. Thank you for coming here on the Chris Salcedo Show, and Merry Christmas.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.